are live. Again, it's Friday, another episode of the Draxx Life Podcast. We have the man with the plan. Look at this guy.
We're getting wild today.
We're getting into it when he has he's got the tinfoil hat on.
Oh, yeah.
He's coming prepared. He's protecting, the inner workings of his mind from the government that might be sending some
government satellites that are trying to poison my brain.
Correct. Yeah. They're trying to reach in and scoop out the knowledge and then put in some conspiracy. So He's protected. I'm not protected, but hopefully, this hat is magical. It keeps away all of the evil intentions.
But that's funny that you say that. There's a famous soccer song that I like. That's called "The Magic Hat." So that's funny that you said the Magic Hat.
There you go.
It's about a specific player. If anyone who follows soccer will know the song. Yeah.
And we're international, so there's definitely some soccer.
Yeah. Jamie Vardy. Jamie Vardy. He wears a magic hat. They'll know the rest after that. He said, and it's about my team, which is funny because he rejected. Quick story. We tried to sign this player and he rejected us. So his hometown fans, not hometown, but the club that he's with, Leicester City Football Club, made a song called The Magic Hat, making fun of Arsenal, who's my team, and it's called The Magic Hat. So everything is connected.
Yeah. All the dots.
But how are you doing, Chris? First of all,
I'm good. I came off of I had my stint, round 2 of COVID. Honestly, wasn't bad.
Did you take ivermectin?
I looked for it. I couldn't find it.
You still can't find it.
No, you can. So if you have a prescription, you can actually get it, and you can get it through Amazon. I guess Amazon you can do prescriptions now.
Okay.
And you can get ivermectin pills for humans via Amazon if you have a prescription. So I didn't need it, to be perfectly honest with you. I had Thursday, so we're on Friday. So last Thursday I was having some chills. I was like, I don't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
And then pretty much it was I kind of felt a little sick Friday and Saturday. And then by then I was good. I had a little bit of a congestion, but it is kind of fascinating, right? Unless COVID has changed, because I'm not vaccinated. It is interesting how the world's perception of COVID has changed, where
big time,
right? It used to be everyone was terrified. And reasonably, that was reasonable. But now it's I had to I didn't even think to go get a COVID test until my folks were hey, maybe you should, because we're going to see some family members. But it's just no one does, right? If you're under the weather, you just assume, I got the flu or I'm sick.
Yeah.
And it's just not even it's a glancing thought, maybe I have COVID, but we don't really think about it anymore. So I was good. I mean, it really wasn't a thing.
All right, cool, Matt. So I'm glad you're better. Because I remember last week you said you were the migraines.
Last time we recorded, it was the next day I took. No, it was Friday. That Friday later, I took a COVID test, and I was like, "Oh shit, I'm contaminated."
Yeah, but no one. To your point, no one cares about that anymore. It's like you said, people treat it oh, you're just sick. Whatever.
I mean, they don't even check. So it's you assume if you're sick, we all characterize it as the flu. I'm under the weather.
I'm under the weather, exactly.
And who knows what you're under the weather with? It really doesn't matter anymore. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So which is a wild transition from 5 years ago when everyone was losing their minds, which we'll get into with that's why I have the tinfoil hat on.
Okay, so let me set the table for today's talk. We're kind of getting back into our roots of the mysterious,
weird, and
the weird.
Yeah.
So here, I'll set the table. So there is a pretty prolific YouTube channel called the Y Files, right? Been around, I think, for years. Maybe this is going back 6-7 years, but the founder of this channel, he creates very, very elaborate, well-made, let's just call them short documentaries, 30 minutes or so, investigating various mysteries. And some of the mysteries are very nitty-gritty, very, very nuanced and random. But just to give example, things like, Egypt or the Mothman, a variety, the Men in Black, any number of things. Project Blue Beam, which we talked about, which
So like government, even like cryptids, like Bigfoot, anything.
Yeah,
like
so really
anything mysterious. Yeah.
Anything, and he does a really good job of laying the story out, all of the details, and then he takes you on this journey so that at the end you're like, holy crap, this has got to be real. And then at the end he kind of starts to unpack some of the areas which are a little bit bogus, to say the least.
Correct.
So I turned on my man Robert Avery to this channel because it's right up his alley. It's right up the Scientology. I mean the
Ancient Aliens,
the Ancient Aliens realm. And then lo and behold, AJ, the creator of this channel, was on Joe Rogan. So worlds are colliding. The dots are being connected.
Yes.
So for today's episode, I didn't watch this Joe Rogan experience, but we have Robert Avery, who is completely tapped into the interweb. So we're going to kind of like talk about that episode, that conversation between Joe and AJ from the Y Files, and also just kind of like riff on some of the key items that they discussed in that episode, some of the topics that they began to kind of like unpack. So without further ado, I'm going to kind of since Rob was the one who
that's a good intro
watched, he's going to be the one kind of pulling out some of the topics, and we're going to kind of chew on them for a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So
fair.
Yeah. First of all, let's get this out the way. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Put the comments down. Support the channel. Let's go. I'm always going to say that every episode.
There we go.
Yeah, we need this channel to go to the moon, which we'll talk about. Which is the moon real? Is it hollow? Ooh.
Oh.
Was the moon landing staged? We'll talk about that. But yeah, get to run those likes up. So first of all, as Chris said, I was completely unaware of this channel until he put me onto it. And when I actually talked with a couple of my other friends and my brother, so like a couple other people, and they were like, yeah, I've been watching that. It's like, why didn't you tell me about this channel? You knew it would be right up my alley.
Yeah.
And he does a good job, like the way he produces the not just the channel but the story. He's a good storyteller too.
Absolutely.
So he can he lays it out. But as you said, he's more of the Dana Scully. I'm more of the Fox Mulder. I believe. I want to believe he's more of the Dana Scully. He's like, well, let's think about a different way. Let's think about an alternative explanation for this, which is good, which is why his channel is good. So he was on Rogan for the first time ever, and I believe his community was trying to get him on there for a long time, and he finally made it there. And they started talking about everything from the government to like nature to medical stuff. I mean, people could get upset about that part because they're not doctors or scientists, but they're just talking about the way the media presented it, which I think anyone is allowed to speak about that. So my first question to you, Chris, is what do you think about just the U.S. government having so much control over how information is being presented to the public?
And in what way? What do you mean?
And meaning, why, when we're talking about things like aliens and like medical research, why aren't they just completely transparent with the people? Why won't they do it?
Okay, so this is kind of one of the roadways that they began to drive down.
Yeah.
So I mean,
the media is a big part of it. The way the media is controlled by private equity, which I'll get into later.
The moment he mentions private equity, you see how Robert, he's kind of calm and quiet, and then the fire begins to.
Those are the bad guys
to be fueled deep within him.
Yeah, exactly.
His eyes, if you could see them, are smoldering embers.
Yeah, I'll take the glasses off soon. Shout out the union guys.
He's a little okay. Yeah, I mean, guys, you gotta know this. Friday morning,
Thursday night. Yeah.
Robert Avery is a little bit under the weather, self-induced.
A couple pints last night. That's
due
all I'll say.
to
Yeah.
spending time with the men of the people.
And the Knicks won last night. It was a big win for New
So
York.
he was happy.
Yeah.
Okay, so to your question, I mean, I don't know, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it, I think you can look at it from different. I think it maybe has different answers depending on what it is that we're specifically talking about, right? I think, with governments, there's probably situations where the people are, I'm saying within the government, they're like, we're doing this for the better. We're doing this to protect the people. We can't let the knowledge out. And that could be little things, right? Like, I don't know, COVID, right? Years later, we're still not necessarily 100% sure what its true origins were, right? It's becoming a little bit more clear, but, for a lot of time, it was still kind of a question mark. So, maybe there's, some of the explanation might be, well, they're not ready, or it could create instability, or it could create chaos, or it could people begin to blame a group and then target them. So like you could see that. So that in some situations, there might be that type of explanation. In others, it might be a control thing, right? Where if we let this information out, we might lose authority. And I mean, again, this is my view when it comes to government, is that, like, at the end of the day, like, the government kind of is in power to some degree because we allow it, right? But there's a lot more people than there are government, let's say, as an entity. And if all of those people decided one day, like, we're done, there's a lot of guns in our country, there could be a real problem. So, I mean, in some cases, I think it might depend on the situation, right? I definitely think power, or maintaining power, is definitely part of it. And then to be on the devil's advocate and to give them their due, there might be situations where they're like, you don't want to know what's happening. Like, there's like a threat, right? We don't know every threat America is under. There's probably thwarted attacks all the time. Do I really want to know them? I probably don't, right? For my state of mind. So those might be a situation where they're just like, we're going to keep you in the dark for your good, So I know it's kind of a winding answer, but I don't think it's like a black and white.
Okay, that's fair.
And that's coming from me, who doesn't trust the government.
Now, I was surprised by that answer because I disagree with that. I think it is totally a means of, like, psychological operation and a means of control and distracting people. Like you said, like, we know what's good for you, but who's to say that they know what's good for us and we're not smart enough to know what's good. There are, I mean, people as a whole, there's some people out there, there's a lot of people out there that maybe they need that kind of, I would say, oversight. But I think for the people that actually are with it and know what's going on, we don't need this level of, like, manipulation and, like, meddling.
Well, it's a question of freedom too, right? Because freedom, I mean, we talk about America being a very free country. And I mean, some of that might be propaganda. Some of it might be true. Definitely if you compare it to, like, other countries like China, for example.
It is true.
But I mean, I definitely think there's, like, a tension there, because think about it this way. It's like, if freedom doesn't mean order, like, part of freedom is chaos. Like, it's kind of like saying we choose freedom over, like, order because we're free. Like, you have to tell us, like, we would rather know and deal with the consequences, and we're gonna deal with them in all these different ways depending on the person, than have a very organized, secure society but be, like, left in the dark. And I do think there's, like, a tension there where the government's probably like, they don't want freedom, is not advantageous to the government, right? Like, I think a lot of governments look at China and are like, in their heart of hearts, like, well, we kind of would like to be more like you, because in that case, China has complete control. And if you're in the government, that's a good position to be in.
Yeah, you can just control how people feel, and which is one of the craziest, like, the means of control.
Yeah, you say, so what? We're gonna do it this way. What are you
Yeah.
gonna say?
What are you gonna do?
You know.
Yeah. But to your earlier point, I think the government is one of the best things the government is good at. Probably, like I said before, their major attribute that they excel at is they're very good at hiding secrets. Very good at it. That's the best way to describe it. And I would say, in terms of actually running the government and controlling, you could argue one way or the other, but you can't deny that what they're good at is keeping things up their wraps if they want it to be, which goes hand in hand with information like moon landings and Roswell, but those are so mainstream now. I'm talking about like MK Ultra stuff, like psychological operations. It's
So
more what I'm going
yeah,
for.
and it's funny. I actually like when it comes to because I think on the Y Files and folks definitely like if
You
you
checked
like
out
this kind of
Show
stuff,
Up.
go to the
Yeah.
Y Files. We're not doing anything justice. Like he creates like these very very well
Well,
made
yes.
videos, like extremely entertaining, that deserve to be like on TV, right? Like that kind of
It
quality.
should be like a Netflix
Yeah.
season by season. Yeah.
So yeah, so like, for example, now the whole idea of the moon landing, I think it's coming back into vogue of like,
It
right?
is.
And I'm also hearing crazy stuff like,
You think space is fake?
well, or that people are saying that like China right now is on the far side of the moon mining like minerals. So like there's a lot of like resurgence of some of these conspiracies.
Yeah.
Um, But I agree with you. I think and the ones that I think are less conspiracy and are even more realistic are like the MK Ultras. Like I think that there's a lot more of that stuff that
That's
like
yeah.
is real. Like there's not even a question. Like
Mm-hmm.
some China mining minerals on the far side of the moon, I find it hard for me to believe that that Starlink with all the satellites in the air, they
And
somehow
we'll
are able
see
to
like a
not.
ship going to
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's equipment up there and they're literally mining. I find that, but like the idea of like governments doing like, for lack of a better word, mind control experiments.
Yeah.
I think that stuff is happening like a lot, a lot. Like the Born
I
Identity
agree.
movies. I think that stuff is all not fake. I think there's a lot of that stuff creating super soldiers,
Yep.
trying to like, like engineer the mind to create like assassins and stuff. Like I think that stuff's real. Like to me I would be surprised if it wasn't. Like it's almost like such a low hanging fruit that if it's not real, I would be kind of shocked.
No, I think you're right. I think yeah, like what do they call like assets? There's definitely like assassins all over the world that
Oh yeah.
work undercover for governments. Look at your local law enforcement. They have undercover agents. You don't think the government has super secret like you said, like super soldiers working for them that have been like what's that Bradley Cooper movie, Limitless,
Oh yeah.
where he has like he's drugged up on that crazy that makes you not only incredibly like alert but like super strong too.
Yeah, I mean, I
Definitely
think
happening.
I'm pretty. Yeah, I mean, like. There's definitely assassins. Like
Yeah.
whether they're super soldiers or not, there's
Yeah.
100% people who have government ties that are like button men. Like, all right, we send you in there to kill people. Like
Yeah.
that. I think 100% true. I think there's definitely professional assassins because there's a market to kill people. Like there's certain people that governments won't go on, and there needs to be someone that can do that job. So I think that's true. And again,
Yep.
I just don't anything this is my rule of thumb. Anything that you can find in science fiction, there's someone who's trying to make that real. That's like kind of like my childish like rule of thumb. Like anything that you
Twilight
can
Zone. We're in
read
the
in a
Twilight
book,
Zone.
yeah, anything you can read in a book, someone now is trying to make. I mean, let's be honest, right? The iPhone was in a book. All right, like it was, that stuff was all in sci-fi years
Star
and years
Trek
ago.
had Alexa and Siri. That was from Star Trek.
And all those
Yeah.
people who are making that stuff, like they were kids when those books and those movies and those TV shows were out. Now they're adults. They're smart and they are trying to make that stuff. So
Yeah.
like I 100% think there's like some scientist doing like psychological and like, hallucinogenic experiments to try to create like living computers that can like Born Identity can just process information and like have no emotional bandwidth and don't care, and you can just send in to like any environment and they just like survive and like accomplish the mission. I think that definitely exists.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's these are people that I don't want to call them robots, but they can be controlled by governments and military because there's something implanted within them. You've seen what I'm saying? There's a physical control over these people. So
Yeah,
what do you think about that?
Whether it's like a psychological mechanism that they've instilled or whatever. I mean, there's so many movies that like that highlight this thing. Again,
Yeah.
I just don't. To me, it's such low hanging fruit, right? That like
Yeah, you're right.
like the government who can just tap into like endless amounts of like tax revenue, which we saw recently with what is that group? I'm finding all of this money just like in these weird.
Oh, Doge.
Yeah, well, like exactly. But what was it? What was the that one group that they? I forget the abbreviation.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's like government is just like siphoning money into all of these like black box.
That's
projects,
what I'm worried about. Yeah.
Right. Like to think that stuff is not real and that it's just like a conspiracy. I mean, I just think it's why not? Like why would you why is that such a crazy idea? Like we need assassins. Wouldn't it be great if we could have assassins that we could program?
Yeah,
you don't think there's some
that's the
general
word.
who's
You
like
can program them. Yeah.
who's like, hey, we need this. Go figure this out. I'm not saying it's successful, but there's definitely someone trying to figure it out.
Yeah. All right. So here's where I come into play. So what I think is, I'm with you on all that. I think the government is in conjunction with all this private wealth that's going on, not just in America, and it's global. And I'm not trying to sound like Alex Jones here, but there's
Alex Jones has been more right than he's been wrong.
He's been very right.
So go ahead.
Except he said some wild stuff about, we all know what he said, which is crazy. He was dead wrong about that. So let's have that right. Yeah.
He's not a prophet, but I mean,
he's been more right. He's been
right a lot.
He's right a lot, like a incredible amount. So I think the government is working with. So Donald Trump is the president. Yeah. He was formerly a billionaire, a businessman. So he's been, when you enter into a business, into that level of wealth, people say he's been bankrupt, he's been charged multiple times with crimes, and he's still the president, which is crazy. Which is a reflection of, like you said earlier, I think it's more of the people. The people are starting to wake up slowly to the control that the government has. But what I think the real you're not a fan of the government, I know. But the real control is all I call them the big five. These like they're probably $1 trillion corporations at this point, where all the rich billionaires in the world pull all their money into this one fund, whether it's private equity or it's a hedge fund, whatever. So you got J.P. Morgan. I'm not going to name them, but J.P. Morgan is one of them. I'm not trying to get anyone in trouble here.
No, but you have these consolidated entities that then go ahead.
That have so much influence on policy not just government, not just the day-to-day government policy, not just the grocery prices at the store, but also military stuff. So defense contractors and stuff like that. So they all have a piece in everything, and those are the people that are actually controlling not just the like doing the mind control stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but they're controlling the narrative that's presented to the people via the corporate media who they also own. Does that make sense?
No, I get it, because I
Yeah,
mean, we had this kind of conversation a
yeah.
while back. I mean, I don't know, like, if there is one overarching, like, network cabal. I think it's probably everyone's right. Like, there's probably like networks upon networks and interlinking relationships,
That's what
and
I agree with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, again, and also you have, I mean, money and power. Like, like to your point, like those big multinational
They're
private
trillion-dollar
equity funds,
companies.
right?
Yeah.
They have relationships that are not necessarily located in one geography, right? Like they saddle many countries and have
Mhm.
interests in many different countries. And then you get into the conversation about like central banks, and central banks are part of the market system, but th're also part of the government, but they also have their
It's
own interests as well. Um, I mean, I think part of this is just like the world is very complex. And I think for the majority of people, you just don't have the time or the bandwidth to understand like the real things making decisions.
right.
But to your
And
point, I do think people are kind of waking up a little bit and
it,
saying,
the internet has helped this, has
yeah,
helped people get information, but also they've I mean, let's have it right. They're also clever and they know what they're doing, or else they
well,
wouldn't
yeah,
have gotten to the position. So they're able to stay anonymous. They know how to hide in plain sight, and they're like trickling down information to distract you and to like lead you off the path. So let's say, or I don't, they might outright approach you. So
okay,
yeah, so I think so where I disagree with you a little, just a little bit, is
yeah.
you think the government has more control than it actually really does,
I mean,
in
I
my
don't know.
opinion.
I mean, I think it's again, it's spheres within spheres, right? Because like let's look at a government, right? Like, I mean, and let's look at like American governments, and that's the one we know the most
Yeah.
about, right? Like there are, right, you hear the whole expression of like the deep state, right? So even within a government, there's like levels to the government, right? Like an elected official is an elected official. There, you think that they have like 50 years of historical knowledge of what's all of the dark corners of the government? No. So like again, I think it's a very like convoluted, weird
Yeah, it's like a
entanglement between the private sector and like the government
yeah,
sector.
and the
Like
federal
BlackRock,
government.
right? BlackRock is private, but they have weird relationship with the government. And I mean,
They're everywhere.
yeah. So like again, I think like, if you're like elected official, right? Those people, there's no way that they have full knowledge of everything because they're going to be gone, right? And then you have this guy who no one knows about who's running some black ops project who's been there for 30 years. He's been there through many presidents,
Hmm.
many elected officials. So I don't know like what would you classify him as? And I think that's kind of like the conversation that I think nowadays people are just more aware that there's a lot of like complexity to things, that like really
I
TV and
agree.
movies is
Yeah,
more accurate than I think anyone ever really wanted to believe now. And now, like with the internet, people are more like, I don't know the answer, but there's definitely like what we're being told is not correct. Like, how can it be? And then I think with Doge, like whether you like him or not, like I think it is true that they did find money being funneled into all these different like weird projects. So
yeah. It's not
no one is saying that that's not real.
right.
So I mean, people
Exactly.
are being aware that like, okay, like we've been lied to. Who do you want to call the main puppet master, if there is one? I'll let you guys decide.
Who's the Wizard of Oz?
But someone, like, I think at the very least, more often people are like, you know what? This is a lot of there's some stuff going on here, whether it's like fraud, whether it's waste, whether it's abuse, whether it's conspiracy. I don't know, but it's not like, we're being lied to, and I think a lot more people are willing to admit that.
Right. Well said. Instead, you took my next question. We'll move on to the more fun stuff later because I got a couple other things. But the final point on this is, I will say, yeah, like what Doge did is it wasn't totally successful.
No,
I don't think everyone. I think everyone can admit that on either side of
and again, it's
any
like,
aisle.
When did it start? A couple months ago, if you think about it.
Exactly.
How are you going to unwind years of
decades?
Shit.
Yeah. So it's not more. My concern is not more about mismanaged money or we're paying this department and they're not really doing any work. It's more to what you were saying. Why are we giving money to these like projects that no one knows anything about?
Correct.
So that's the scarier part.
Yeah. And I mean, it's tax dollar money, right? So it's like, I think the way our government operates, and again, I'm no way an expert, but like, we have elected officials and they're obviously not going to know everything, but they're supposed to know where tax dollar money is going because that's their role. Like, their role is to help manage the distribution of tax dollar money. Right. And it shows that, like, no, obviously no one knew where the tax dollar money is going because here's money over here. Here's money into that. Here's money into this. And like you said, if it's just like fraud, if it's just waste and abuse, that's one thing. What's more nefarious is like, no, correct. We're actually sheltering this money to do this thing. And it's
on
nefarious.
on the low. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just gonna say it straight up. The government, in conjunction with these big firms, are using that money to fund secret science projects
100%
that they won't tell us about. Whether it's physics, whether it's transportation related, whether it's like maybe extraterrestrial research, space, like rocketeering, whatever. They're taking the tax dollars and they're pretending to say, oh, we're just going to create this government department. But in the background is what's really going on.
So let me ask you this question, right? And then we can maybe talk about some of the other topics. But like, with the whole Doge thing kicked off and then like the whole like establishment just went after Elon Musk, whether you like him or not. Like,
I think there's a reason for that
effort to try to destroy this guy. And I mean, come on now, like what they were finding things, right?
They were scared of it,
right? Yeah, you have to wonder deep within the netherworld of the government. People must have been freaking out, right? Because at the end of the day, you're having to funnel money deep into these nooks and crannies. So it's coming from the surface where there's sunlight, and then it needs to make its way into the bank accounts of like you're saying, these projects. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there was probably a lot of people freaking out, like how are we going to keep funding this monster research over here? We're trying to create like a dragon super soldier.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean?
Can't have this coming out. We can't have him uncovering this.
Right. And that stuff makes me angry because that's where I get into the government trying to protect itself and like a parasite, right? Yeah. It's living off of us and it's doing things saying it's protecting us, but then it's not telling us the thing it's trying to protect us from or the solution as to how we're going to you're maybe building, you're trying to, I don't know, bring back T-Rex. How is that in my interest?
They actually talk about that. They talk about the T-Rex.
They're bringing back dire wolves. So, I mean, why can't
it's already back?
Dinosaur? I know. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, So I think it's a very convoluted relationship between big money players, these private equity funds, and governments and central banks. I mean, anyone who would benefit from keeping people in check and just like living in ignorance. Um, yeah, I think there's a lot of people would like that to be the case.
Yeah, and to add on to your point, I agree with all that. But I'll add on one more thing. I think it's the government is also doing a good job at telling you, like, we know what's good for you, so we'll handle it. You're not really capable of understanding it. We'll take care of it for you. And they that's where the psyops come in.
And amen to COVID, because COVID, I
It
think,
woke a
was
lot of
a
people up.
miscalculation on their part. I think they,
That's a mistake. Yep.
thought it would be well, let's see how much control we have, and like it will not happen again. If another thing, another COVID like virus thing came out,
Yeah.
people will not respond, and I think the majority of people will not give up the amount of freedom that they gave up the first time
No,
around.
yeah, and like especially the financial sector, they're not going to shut down again. Never.
Correct. So I mean, that was almost like they pulled the trigger a little too early, because if they tried again, I don't think anyone will.
Yeah, because that's a great point, because when I went into the rabbit hole a little bit last night, when I got back, and it was like, did they was the COVID lockdowns just a test run, like a trial run for something they want to do later, and they realize, we actually don't have the capability of controlling the people like we thought we did. So it was just like it was just like dipping your toe in the water just to see
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah, and I've heard people talk about that, and I mean,
Yeah.
whether it's true or not, I mean, is
Yeah.
definitely like whether it's true or
Or
not,
not.
it has shown that like no,
Did,
people will not allow that to happen again.
exactly. Yeah, you're right.
So if you are someone who, if you were, if you were planning something, whether this was the trial run or just like some freak occurrence,
Yeah.
you've definitely realized, oh shit, people are not going to give up their freedom again.
Yeah, like maybe they went a little too early, so now they're gonna have to re-strategize.
Yeah.
That's what I was seeing.
So what were some of the other like
Yeah.
key things that
All right.
they brought up that
Yeah,
really like tickled you?
I liked it. They're like that stuff is heavy, because
Yeah.
it's like you. That stuff gets me worked up. It gets me upset, that because it's just like a very malicious way to control people. But also on the flip side of that, we kind of allow it to happen to ourselves, because
Correct.
we like TikTok, we like Netflix, we just let it happen. So it's both ways. But anyway, let's move. So the fun stuff, they started talking about remote locations on planet Earth. Like, so think about the remote places, like the deep ocean, the in the middle of the jungle, the unexplored places. Because believe it or not, there's still
Yeah.
places in the Amazon that no human being has ever been. Now, and like Antarctica, like in where or like the top of Greenland where the ice caps are. So my question is used. They were saying, like, could it be, are there people there? Is there animal life? Or is it, the government times it a little bit here. Is it a place where the government has like secret bases, or is it interdimensional, and the aliens have their bases there,
Interesting.
and their places? So let's start with the ocean first. What do you think's going on in the bottom of the ocean floor?
Oh, I don't know, man. I mean, because he's done a couple episodes where I think he's done like the Amazon,
Yeah.
he's done some like Alaska, like Antarctica.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think there's a lot of mystery in our planet, right? Like, I think the deep oceans, it could be like Abyss, right? Like, for those of you who are old enough and have watched like the
Great
80s
movie.
movie
Yeah.
Abyss, like there might be, right, alien life, right? Like, it's kind of interesting that all of those TikTok ships that people are seeing, ships, we're using the word ship, but flying UFO, UAE,
Oh, Tic Tac, you mean the
the
Tic Tac
TikToks, yeah,
chip? Yeah.
yeah, like they always end up in the water.
Yeah.
They always eventually dip and disappear into the water. So I don't know. Maybe there's something down there. Maybe there are some bases down there. I mean, maybe all of those, those are drones, and those are essentially, they have like bases where they do like deep research down there where no one can really see. No satellite's going to be able to pick them up.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think there's big ass animals in the depths of the ocean, right? Like things that we've not, like maybe things, species we know of, but like at sizes we've never captured, right? Like, giant squid, like sea monster shit.
I see.
I definitely think there might be still some like sea monsters down there, like dinosaurs.
Oh, like what's that like shark dinosaur? I forgot the name, but
What is it, the
megalodon?
Yeah,
Megalodon.
or just like different species of dinosaur that just were ocean dwellers and they just never were extinct. Yeah, I mean,
I think that's so cool. The deep ocean.
The ocean is
fascinates.
terrifying.
It's the scariest. Just a personal story. The scariest thing for me, because it ties in because I'm afraid of the dark as well. Still, I gotta find a way to fix that. I'm almost fucking 40 years old, and I'm still scared of the dark. I can't sleep in complete darkness. Can't happen.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy actually. But think about being on like a ship alone in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean at nighttime, and just the only light is the moon.
Terrifying.
That's it. That's the scariest thought I
like
could
in
ever
a rowboat
have.
or something.
Yeah,
Like you're escaping
exactly.
like a shipwreck, and you're just in like you can't see land at all. 360.
Nope.
No, man, that's terrifying.
Yeah, and it's not just the animals. I don't think of me immediately. I don't think about sharks and whales and stuff like. I think about storms. What if a storm comes and then you're finished?
Well, then I'm ending up in the water with like freaking sea monsters. No way. The ocean is terrifying. The older I've gotten, the less I want to be in the ocean. I loved the ocean as a kid, and now I'm just like,
so did I. Yeah.
Not our territory at all.
Yeah,
like you are playing with fire every time you go into the ocean.
I agree, because of when I was younger with my brother in San Juan, Puerto Rico, my parents would have to drag us out the beach. We would just love being in the water, playing in the sand, going back in the water. Now it's like, I don't know about this, man.
I'm like, dude, we are not in. This is not human territory. Right? Like, I'm at a complete disadvantage. I think the oceans are terrifying. I think that there's definitely things down there that, like, I mean, you'll see periodically like things that wash up on the ocean, like on the beach, and they can't even really
explain it. Yeah,
identify what it is. Whether it's because like it, the ocean just like it died and it's been decomposing or whatever, but just like there's species that you just never seen because they live in the deep ocean. And it's just like, I definitely think, like, I believe in all the monsters of mythology for the most part.
You're a cryptid guy?
Yeah, I am. Because here's the thing. Human beings are not dumb. And the human beings of 1,000 years were not dumb. So when they said they saw things, you can just like discount it. It was a, you'll see, I think someone will say like, that wasn't a dragon. It was a elephant. It's like, no, dog. They know what they could draw an elephant. They're not idiots. These are the same human beings that made the Sistine Chapel. They're smart people, right? Like they're not fools. They know the difference between like what would be an elephant with ears and a freaking fire breathing animal. So like I'm kind of the opinion that there's definitely like were some dangerous big animals that human beings existed around, and every culture has sea monsters, and I wouldn't be surprised if they still exist.
Yeah, but what if the dragon was just like misidentified? What if it was a spacecraft that was flamed?
I mean, I saw the episode with you, on Ancient Aliens. Maybe.
No, I agree. I think they know what they saw. They just couldn't grasp what they saw. But they will never mistake it for like a horse. or
No, I
something
mean they
like that.
might
They
have
knew.
I mean they might have been like, yeah, these things run around. We don't see them too often, but yeah, when you see them, we call the knights because they need to get killed because they're going to eat us. Like,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
if a T-Rex survived somehow, I mean, we have found bone, right? I mean, I think this is something Joe Rogan said, which I actually kind of liked. It was like, for us to get to for a living being to be fossilized, it's like it's not like an everyday occurrence. Like the conditions need to be right for bones to be fossilized. So I think he was talking to the miner in Alaska, who's been on his show a couple times, and like this guy who owns this land in Alaska, like they just started to churn up like crazy amounts of like prehistoric bones.
Mm.
And they were talking about this, and they're like, yeah, like it's not an everyday occurrence that you find, like not everything that dies is going to be preserved. And he found like a bird in the tusk of a fossilized mammoth tusk. He found a blue and like orange feather.
Okay.
And the scientists were like, no animal had feathers. Like, no, that shouldn't exist. And he's like, well, it existed. And like they were talking about it, and it's kind of like there's probably so many different creatures that have existed and walked on this planet and might have lived while humans lived. We have no trace of them. We haven't found their bone because like we haven't found a lot of dinosaur bones. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm open to it. I'm open to
I
the
love
idea
it.
that these shit
It's
exists.
fun. It's fun because they're.
Why not?
It's funny that you said that because AJ mentioned two things you said there. He talked about they talked about fossils for a couple minutes and how 90% of all the animals we don't have a fossil for
That's crazy.
that's ever existed. It's
That's
like that
crazy.
high of amount.
Yeah.
So imagine all the life that existed on this planet that we just have there's
No
just no
idea.
trace of them. And then in terms of the deep ocean stuff, like when they drop in the people, who knows what they are, when they drop into the water, he told the story of a couple of like Air Force pilots. I don't think I've actually heard the stories because I've heard a lot about all like the main
Yeah.
military pilot stories. This one I haven't heard. There was a craft that went into the water, but it didn't make. It was like when in the Olympics when people dive and they don't make a splash at all.
Yeah.
The craft, gigantic triangular craft, not circular, went into the ocean. Not a drop. Just didn't even. There's no splash at all, and they saw it. These two guys in the plane saw it. How do you explain what that is?
No, man, that stuff
There's
starts to get
something down there.
me uncomfortable when it comes to like the TikTok, the Tic Tac,
Tic Tac, yeah.
stories, because it's like I remember the one guy he had on, and he's saying how this is like a common occurrence. Like anyone who flies on either East Coast or West Coast sees these things,
Yeah.
and they look a similar way, and they operate in a similar way. And I'm just like, that's insane to me. When you talk about like government cover-ups, I'm like, why is this not the thing we're talking about all
That's my
of the
main
time?
question. Like, why won't they just tell us straight up? Is it a blue beam thing?
I don't
So
know,
then,
man. I don't
so
know, because it's like that to me is like that's when I get like uncomfortable. I'm like, why is no one talking about this? You're telling me that many pilots are seeing these things
yes,
all the time on the
with
coast of
regular
America,
occurrence. Yeah,
and no one is talking about this. Like, what is going on? That kind of stuff is what gets me angry.
yeah. No, I feel the same way. It works. It winds me up.
And you know what it is? I think it might not even be a cover up. I think it's even scarier sometimes. I think it's that they don't know.
Ooh.
And when it comes to the
Go on.
government, I think the government, like any position of power, right? What was one thing we learned at Apple, if you remember? It was if you don't know something, you just say you don't know. Like if someone asks you a question, you don't know, you don't fake it. You don't make it
Yeah.
up. You just say I don't know. I'll find out an answer for you.
Let's find out together.
Yeah.
What's the Apple term?
And it's a great, actually, I think it's a good life advice. But like,
Yeah.
I think with governments, you never say you don't know. And
You
if you
just
don't
say
know,
no comment or
you
something like
just
that.
don't talk about it. And that's
Right.
the scarier thing. That's why you see some people on Rogan and different places that talk about a spiritual aspect of what if these are not ships? They are a spiritual entity, angels, demons,
Yeah,
whatever you want to call them.
you're on the right
And then
wavelength.
that gets
That was my
even
next thing.
weirder, right? It gets a little scarier, and then it makes sense why the government's like, we don't know. And what we don't know, we don't talk about.
Yeah, no, you took my next point. Well done. So there's do you think possibly these beings, if they're whatever beings they are, spiritual or actually like
Corporeal.
yeah, like exactly mortal, and they in communication with these firms and all the governments? Do they communicate with them? Is there a secret deal? This is getting real X-Files. Is there a
That's all
deal?
good.
Is there a deal with the high levels, like you said, like the unseen part of the government, with the billionaire and trillionaire class, with these entities? Is there some kind of a deal that, and if you see us, don't say no comment or try to explain it away because the people are not quote unquote ready yet?
All right, we're gonna go.
Yeah.
Oh man, we can do this. We'll do it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll just give you my 2 cents real
Yeah.
quick. So, if we want to go down the spiritual, let's just say
Yeah.
the spiritual rabbit hole,
Yeah.
right? So, like, I'll just gonna use the Bible since that's the I know the Bible fairly well,
Yeah.
right? So, in the Bible, the arch enemy, the villain, right, is the devil. In the
Mm-hmm.
Bible, the devil, it says that the devil is the prince of this world. Like, he runs everything, right? Him and his
Mm.
minions, let's say. And he's called the prince of the air.
Okay.
So think about it this way, right?
The
If
air is interesting.
yeah, so let's just say like if there is a spiritual realm, let's
Yeah.
say, right? You don't have to believe this, but let's just say for argument's sake there is,
Mm-hmm.
and the head of, let's say, Earth is essentially the devil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um wouldn't he have his hands in all of those different things, right? Like if the devil's job is to create chaos and to mislead people, right? He's going to have his finger in every one of those power structures that allows him to do whatever he wants to do. So
Mm-hmm.
he's on the board of every, or has influence in every private equity firm, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's connected to every human government, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, then if those things are, his agents, right? Like who's to say he's not telling someone in those governments to turn a blind eye or tell people this or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. If we're going down this rabbit hole, right? Like
Yeah.
anything is is
I'm
is
not with that, but
is
I hear you.
possible.
I hear you. I but I
Go ahead.
do see. I'm not. I don't agree with that at all.
That's
But
fine.
so, but I hear you, and I understand the point. What I would the way I would interpret it is evil is like a universal like life energy, like
It's like
entity is not the right.
antimatter almost.
Yeah, like I think the devil is just an easier way for people to understand a topic, or like a broader subject that's harder to understand. I think there's good and evil, but it's not God versus the devil. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I mean, well, yes, and I hear what you're saying. I mean,
Yeah.
in the Bible, God is not versus the devil because God is the king. The devil
Yeah.
is just a thorn that just is allowed to do what it wants to
They
do.
used to be boys. Yeah.
Um,
At one point.
but I mean, yeah, I mean, yours is more of a like I almost call it like a Buddhist perspective of it's
Yeah.
like
It's like an Eastern way of
yeah.
thinking of it. Yeah.
So then, what would you? So from that perspective, so how do you view these entities? Are they ships? Are they man made? Are
I
these
I would say
aliens?
I would say they're other life forms from places, not they're non-human life forms.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, did you ever see the Kate and Peele? What's the one who makes the movies?
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele. So the movie he made, the one that's like on the horse farm, and they're like
Get
seeing a
Out.
UFO. No, it's not Get Out. It's the next one he did. But
Uh,
he kind of does
I'll
he
I'll
plays on
look
this
it up.
idea of like they're seeing like a UFO, and then at the very
Keep going.
end, you find out that the UFO it's not a ship. It's actually a creature. It's an animal.
Oh yeah, I remember this movie.
And I mean that's also a very plausible, like it's funny in the context of the movie, but it's also very plausible, right? Like we just talked about, there are things on the planet that we're not aware of. Who's to say that they're just not some form of
is it?
species?
It's called Nope. Is that one?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, no, that movie was cool. I
It was
remember
interesting.
when it comes out the ground, it's actually like a living thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it has like a
yeah,
mouth, and it's
yeah,
actually
yeah. I remember that.
it's not abducting, it's eating.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah. So okay, going back to your earlier question though. So like, what do you think about like Antarctica and like some of these other parts of the world where kind of strange and things happen? The deep parts of the Amazon,
Yeah.
the deep ocean. Like, do you think there's lost tribes, like animal species that we're not aware of,
So,
monsters,
yeah.
dinosaurs,
So
reptile people?
it's a good question. So there's three different answers for three different places. I think in the Amazon, like deep in the Amazon jungle, and also like places in like the Sahara Desert
Yeah,
and the Serengeti that people have. There's still places in the Sahara that people have never been.
yeah, it's
So like
crazy.
I think in those places that's where you get like the wild animals that no one ever knows about, maybe like 20-foot scorpions or something like that. Like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
like a gigantic saber-toothed tiger might still exist. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, why not?
Yeah. In Antarctica, it's a different take. I think that's where the secret government bases are.
Mm,
I think that's where they hide under the ice
under the
caps.
ice.
Yeah, that's where the crazy experiments are going on and stuff like that. And then in the ocean are where the aliens are. So that's
Well,
those are
I mean, are they aliens or are they just are they another human creature or
ooh,
another Earth creature?
could be.
Is this
I'm
where
open to that.
are these the descendants of what is that, the lost city of Atlantis? Are these
Uh,
Atlanteans?
could be like mermaids and mermen and stuff like that.
There's a lot of mythology of
Aquaman is
humanoid
down there.
creatures that live underwater. I mean, so here, let me ask you this question as we start to wind down.
Hmm.
So one, he did an interesting video. He did a video on like the inner world, and I don't know if this is
Like caves and stuff.
yeah, and
Yeah,
how like the Earth is actually hollow, and that, like there's world within a world. Like you can find, and he
interesting.
like
Yeah.
there's certain places in the world where humans have like a mythology of like there's a cave here, and that cave is the entranceway into like uh, a subterranean world, and it has like
I could get down with
waterfalls,
that.
and people live down there. Have you
Yeah,
ever heard that like
I've heard a
conspiracy?
little bit of it, but
That's where
I
like the
could get down
reptile
with that.
people live.
Yeah, I could get down with that. The lizards or
The
the
lizards,
lizard
man,
guy.
the
Yeah.
lizard guy.
So
I mean, dude, all that stuff I find very interesting. And the thing is this, I think I've texted you this multiple times where I've sent you a Wi-Fi video when it first starts, and then at the end, I always regret it because at the end, I'm like, oh man, you
yeah,
just popped all the bubbles. I was
yeah,
thinking that
but I
we're
like
like
that.
living in like
No, that's why I like his platform so much. And this episode really, you get to know him a little more as a person,
yeah.
because the reason he got on Joe Rogan is his brother is good friends. His AJ's brother has known Joe Rogan for decades. That was
Interesting.
their connection. So
Interesting.
Joe Rogan said he watches every episode of Y-Files, every
Oh,
single
okay.
one.
So they're kind of with okay, interesting. So it
Yeah,
wasn't like new. He kind of knew of him. It just he never got him on.
right. He knew, he's like, this is my friend's brother.
Got it. Got it.
That's how he got.
So let me ask you this question: like, are you? sorry, you guys might hear they're cutting the grass outside.
Yeah.
Um, like, what do you think?
Where's Harriet?
Harriet's sleeping in a
Yeah.
pile of
Oh, right next to you.
clothes. Yeah, on the
Yeah,
ground.
nice.
Like the stuff with like the moon and like the moon being not real, or the moon being like
They
he
talk
did.
about that a lot.
Yeah, he did
Yeah.
one video where like the moon is actually like not man-made, but it's made by someone. It's like wasn't here, and like there's a conspiracy where like when they went to the moon, they found out that the moon was actually like um,
Do you think we actually win there?
non-organic. Dude, I
That's
don't
how
know,
that's
man.
a hard one. That's a hard one.
I don't
Yeah.
know. The one thing I find in the day and age we live in is that like there's such an influx of information, and there's so many people out there who get off on taking these like angles on things that like
Yeah,
I
true.
kind of find myself like, because I'll listen to them and I'll be like, that sounds really plausible.
Yeah,
Like
compelling.
it sounds compelling, but I'm like, am I just going insane a little bit? Like, am I becoming a kook? Because like you got to draw a line somewhere.
It's the Russ Cole line. Am I main line? Am I
My main line the
losing my
secret. Yeah, am I losing my mind?
am I losing my mind, or am I
Am I
mainlining
mainlining the
the
secrets
secret
of the
truth
universe?
I love it.
Yeah, because it's like I mean, I don't know. I mean, I looked this up at one point because I was like, all right, I gotta like educate myself. Like other countries have sent astronauts to the moon. So is the debate whether we sent astronauts to the moon when we said we did, or that no one has ever touched down on the moon?
I think the moon landing was real. If you want to ask me just straight up black and
Yeah.
white, yeah, I think it was real.
Okay.
Now, my real question is, why haven't we been back again?
That's
That's a question that's never been answered.
well, and
Yeah.
there's like I think there's like I don't know, again, I don't know if this is true or not, but isn't there like a quote from, I think it was like Buzz Aldrin or someone who went on the moon, and he kind of was like, we saw something. Like
Ooh,
there's like a famous quote. Let me see if I can find it. And again, I think people have said it's been taken out of context. I think it's Buzz. Let's see.
I have another. While you're looking that up,
Yeah,
I'll
go ahead.
tell another conspiracy. So apparently, the dark side of the moon. There's another conspiracy. We've shut up Pink Floyd as well. Um, it's a almost like a radio transmitter. It's a receiver for, and people, when no one ever talks about this, but the astronauts, the Russian astronauts and the Americans, they heard like music playing from the dark side of the moon, because so it's like while they were there, someone saw them there and was trying to reach out to them. It's almost like their way of communicating. They were playing music from. That's why Pink Floyd named this album "Dark Side of the," or them as a band.
Yeah.
That's why they named their. So it's maybe the dark side of the moon. Maybe the moon is a receiver for extraterrestrial life. You see what I'm saying?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I can't find this quote.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, dude. It's like, again, it's like you can kind of go down like the whole conspiracy, or is it money, right? Like, why did it take Elon Musk to just like revolutionize, or at least just figure out an easier way to do rockets, right? Like reusable rockets, where, so was it just money? Like the space, the NASA just couldn't afford to be sent, and there's no real value add. Like you're not getting, like
Yeah.
you're sending people there for what reason? Like we're not getting anything out of it. Or is
Yeah.
there some darker conspiracy? I really don't know.
Not
I mean,
again.
again, I think like one of my thinking is like, one of my thoughts is that like people know less than we like.
That's what I was. Yeah.
Yeah, like
And
the puppet masters, like we like to create people who know everything, and I wonder if
yeah.
the reality is that there's a lot more. Like when you climb up that ladder, you find that those people know a lot less than you wish they knew.
Yeah.
Like you wish they knew all the answers.
And
In
they're
reality, they're just like not.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not as
they're diabolical, but they're not as smart as you think.
Well, it's just like that
They're
they don't know. Like they don't know. You ask like, well, what is the secret of the universe? What they're like, I don't know. You know what I mean? And they're just like doing what they, they're more like the Joker from the Batman movie, right?
Mhm.
They're just doing things, right? Like I don't have a plan. We just do things.
Yeah,
Um,
like
rather than having like, oh, we're on the side of the antimatter, and
Mhm.
this is a conspiracy to like,
Yeah,
I
we're
don't know, take over the world. It's like reality is like it's not that. It's
all right.
not that
Yeah, or like we're in
sophisticated.
cooperation with the aliens so that
Yeah.
they don't come and attack us or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
but
Um,
but yeah, like
but they're
speaking.
fun to talk about these things.
No, I love it. It's and the last thing about the moon. Vinyl records where you drop the pin. You
Yeah.
obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, the pattern of a vinyl record is very similar. I forgot what it is. Ancient Aliens did an episode on this, so anyone can fact check me on this if I'm wrong about this. But I think the mathematical pattern of the way a vinyl record works is the same. It's like identical to some kind of mathematical pattern on the moon.
Interesting.
So that's where the music element ties in. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
So what of the conspiracies of the things they discussed, we'll kind
Yeah.
of end with this. Which was the most Yeah, which is the thing like which is the conspiracy or topic that is the most interesting to you that you kind of find yourself always like, digging through the internet to kind of find more information about?
Yeah, like it's similar to you. Like the government ones and anger me, so I don't
Yeah.
like that because I'll get wound up. So the fun things they talked about that I liked the most was probably if cosmos is fake. Like they weren't trying to say space is fake, but our perception of what space is might be curated. That's the right word. You
Interesting.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
space exists. The sun is out there, the moon is really out there.
Yeah.
But is it like when we see, like, who knows what Jupiter really looks like? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe that's just a rendition of a planet. You get what I'm saying? So they
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about that. They talk about if human understanding of space is what we think it is, and so that
Interesting.
part is cool. Yeah, I love space. Anything about space, I love it. I wish I could go to space. I would give it. Why did they send Katy Perry to space? Go put me in that rocket. I'll go. I
Deep
don't care.
pockets, man.
Yeah,
You gotta get some deeper pockets.
yeah, okay, yeah. Probably cost her.
Live
Did she
long
pay
enough.
for it? Yeah.
Probably not, actually.
No, they probably
Um,
just put her on there. Like
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Get me to space,
the
and
one thing I
I'll
like
land it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
The one thing I like about AJ from the Y Files is that I think he's pretty humble, and
yeah.
actually I would say like Joe Rogan I think is becoming more humble as well. Like,
Yeah, because during the election run, Rogan was getting like way too political. He was talking about science and medicine and politics way too much. I was like, is this guy becoming a pundit
well, and
now?
like things that like he really probably
That
doesn't
was annoying a little bit.
know
Even
enough
though
about.
I like Joe, but that was annoying. Sorry,
Yeah,
guy.
but I mean I think that's why I like the Y Files quite a bit. Like he doesn't put out as much because he's creating like very elaborate edited videos. He doesn't put out a lot. Um, I think it's kind of like maybe monthly, maybe even less than that. But like the one thing I do like is like I do find that he's pretty humble. Like he doesn't say he like gives you the information
Yeah,
that he's
he's
gathered
authentic.
like a reporter, and then kind of like takes his opinion out of it, which I kind of like. And I think Rogan to some degree kind of he doesn't always do it, but he's doing more of it. And why I bring this up is like the space thing, right? Like I think there's like the why I like looking at the conspiracies and whatnot is because it just proves that there's so much complexity. There's so many things that we don't know. Like any day, your view of reality could be shifted. Like imagine if someone was exploring in Amazon and they pulled out a freaking raptor. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it's not out of the realm of possibility. Like how can anyone say that that's not possible? It could happen. Like it is in the realm of possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think that's like, it forces you to be more humble. Like, all right, I really don't know. Like you said, there could be a saber-toothed tiger somewhere in some nook, in some cranny of this planet. Like, to say that that's not
And
possible, like, with one, you would bet your life on that? Like, no way.
no
So
way.
I like when they bring up these kind of like weird ideas, because it's like, it sounds plausible. I don't know. Maybe that is real. Maybe, 1 in a million chance. Maybe. Because
Yeah,
I
no,
just
you.
I get so annoyed by listening to people who are like, this is not possible. This can't happen.
Yeah,
All the dinosaurs died on this and this date, this many million years ago. We don't even know who killed Kennedy.
yeah,
That's in
exactly.
living memory. You're going to tell me
But do
beyond a
you
reasonable
think?
doubt, millions of people, millions of years ago, what happened? You're out of your fucking
Yeah,
mind.
but this raises the question: do they know, and they just won't be transparent about it?
Well, man,
Or
the government, yeah, but like,
yeah.
there's people on our planet who are historians and stuff like that
Oh
who have
yeah, then
studied
yes, yeah,
Kennedy, and they can't guarantee anything, right? So you're gonna
I
then
agree. Yeah,
guarantee that something happened a million years ago? Like, you can't. Let's have a grain of humility, because there's just no way you can fact check that.
I agree. That's
It's a
that.
it's a hypothesis, to say the least.
That's the major problem with the media on both sides of the aisle,
Yeah.
and the scientific community on both sides of the aisle. They're Everyone is like, nope, I'm right, you're wrong. This is the way it is.
Yeah,
It's
it's like,
crazy.
let's have a little bit of. It's like, there's no way that this happened. The pyramids were made by, I don't know, some advanced species. It's like, do we know how the pyramids were made? I'm not saying that some aliens made
They
them,
talk about the pyramids.
right? But
That other guy that was on his show, he was trying to say, oh, he kind of had your argument a little bit from back in the day, where it's like we underestimate the power of like humans,
oh
where
yeah, I remember you talking about.
over the course of 30 years, this was the national project of Egypt to build this, and you have tens of thousands of people working on this. It can kind of happen. But then AJ, which is his MO, he starts poking holes. He's like, well, there's certain things that no human beings can do. And there's still, so he did it the reverse way. I think he thinks the pyramids are beyond human, um, beyond the capabilities of humans to construct.
Or
He's more on that side. Yeah.
like, go down the ancient aliens rabbit
Yeah.
hole, that the pyramids were
But it's a power plant. Yeah.
power plant, exactly, and that really it's that humans did make it, but the tools they were using and
They
their capabilities
were given
are
to them.
far more well, not even that they were given, they're just
They-
far more advanced. Like, think about
okay.
it this way: it's like, our current civilization went down silicone, right? We made computers. There's nothing to say that, like, another human being, another group could have found a different road towards similar solutions, right? It's like, he does the Wi-Fi. He does an episode which he debunks at the end, but
Mm-hmm.
how the, like, resonance and vibrations, and how some of these monuments like Stonehenge might have been like conductors of like a certain vibrations, and that
Yeah.
vibrations could then be harnessed to lift something or move something. So I mean, I think if we could go back in time to the time of the pyramids being built, regardless of what we saw, it is going to be far removed from what we think we would see. Whether it's some alien species helping, or those human beings were far more advanced than we would ever imagine,
That's the Graham Hancock one.
then
The ancient.
like, we would be surprised. Whatever it is, it's going to be a surprise.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
would
why
love
any
to.
historian who's like, this is how it happened, this is what they did, I'm like, dog, how do you know? Like, you have no idea.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool stuff to think about, because we've lived on this planet as a species for so long, and there's still mysteries everywhere you turn, and there's still places on the planet, physical locations that we haven't been to yet. Think about that. That's insane.
Dude, the only things we know about the past are what have been written and left for us to read. And in that case, you're trusting that what was left for you to read was accurate, right? So, I mean, it's kind of fascinating. Like, for however many thousands of years human beings have been walking around, we really don't know. Like, we don't know what humans were like 10,000 years ago. We don't know anything about them. We think we do, but in reality, we don't. If I excavated a hunter-gatherer society, I can't assume that all of the humans on the planet are hunter-gatherers. Just those I found were hunter-gatherers. If I go 100 miles in another direction, they might be driving flying spaceships.
Yeah, imagine that. Yeah.
I mean, even in our planet right now, we have hunter-gatherers, and then we have people who live in skyscrapers at the same time. If you were to excavate in Africa, you might have a different picture of what the world was like right now than if you went and excavated in, I don't know, China or Dubai or wherever.
Yeah, Dubai. Everyone has private jets and stuff. They're flying to the sky.
So it's interesting. Anyway, so
that's cool. My last thing to you is then we can end it here. I think, like, I want to believe in all these things. I think there are mysterious creatures like cryptids and stuff. I believe in that. I think that exists. We just haven't found it. I believe in the spiritual, like that spiritual realm. I believe it interacts. I think it interacts regularly with the mortal coil, and obviously, I think aliens exist.
Boom.
They're in the ocean, and they can find a way. They can find somehow. There's a way that they can travel from the deep ocean into space, and then come back and forth. That's explains all these objects that we see in the sky. They talk about the drones a little bit, but that's gonna get us off the rails here. Remember the drones in your state?
We just stop talking about it all of a sudden.
Why all of a sudden they go into it? You're gonna love this episode.
I'll have to listen to it because that is, again, it's like we have short attention spans. Mysteries, and then all of a sudden it's not a mystery anymore.
I think that's the role of social media. Like, if you want to go conspiracy,
I think just media,
yeah, that's the role of just media, corporate and social, is to refresh the cycle so that we forget about everything, like the real important things.
Yeah, I agree. Right. All right, folks, thank you for tuning into this episode. Definitely check out the Y Files.
Yeah, great.
If you liked us pontificating about random stuff, hit like and subscribe, and we'll catch you again next week for another episode. Peace.
No, we're going to be live tomorrow.
We'll be live next week. Catch us for a live episode.
It's going to be awesome.
All right, see you, folks. Peace.